Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the EcomXFactor podcast. In today's episode we have with us Nick Shucet, the owner and founder of Romanstide and the Arbitrage Blueprint. In this wide-ranging conversation we covered a lot. Nick talks about systemizing procedures in order to increase productivity, retail and online arbitrage, hiring, delegating and running multiple businesses. If you feel you're being unproductive and all over the show with your tasks and goals, this episode is definitely a good listen for you. Please enjoy this wide-ranging conversation with Nick Shucet. How are you, Nick?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
All good, all good. How is the COVID over there? Where are you based, by the way?
Virginia Beach. Yeah, in the U.S. It's ramping up over here. I think still, but we're on lockdown. No people, no gatherings over 10 people. I went to Home Depot yesterday, and there was a line to get in the store. It's crazy. Yeah, but honestly, not much has changed for me, man. And we just had a baby, so we're in the house anyways. So nothing's really that different yet.
Cool.
For us.
I see. How old is the baby?
He's a little over a month old now. Yeah, and then we have a 2-year-old and a 7-year-old.
Ah, nice. Awesome. Yeah. Great. So having good sleeps lately or not really?
Luckily, me and my wife got a good thing going. So, I get to sleep and she gets to stay home with the kids and not have to worry about work and things like that. So.
Cool. So that's awesome. So are you working from a home office these days?
From home, we have a 3-story condo. So on the bottom floor, we have a pretty big room here. There's
nice.
a good amount of space in here.
Cool.
So
I like the setup. I like the big screens.
Yep. Yeah. And then when we have guests, we've got a little bed over here that they can sleep in.
That's so cool because like me and my wife, we travel while we work. So, and we just work from different places. Like we just came back from South Africa and before we were like in Japan and Thailand. And we only work with our laptops and we don't have like more screens because we can't carry them in the baggage flights. And I miss working with 2 or 3 screens because it makes you so much more effective and productive.
Definitely.
So fun, like instead of minimizing alt-tabbing, just working with a few screens, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's nice. I like having a couple of them.
Yeah, so lately I started using like Asana and I just use Asana for like, I know majority of people use Asana for like project management, but I just use it for notes. So I put notes in Asana and then it's more easier to search for anything like macros, stuff that I answer a lot. And then it's easier. It makes me more productive instead of now that I don't have the true screen. So I have to be like as productive as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. We use ClickUp, which is kind of like Asana.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If you use it like for project management or more like
for project management and like now we've gotten pretty good this year of just like putting everything in there. Like even if it's filling out an application for a wholesale company or something, I'll put it in ClickUp and assign it to myself or
cool.
Well, now we've got another guy who does the paperwork, but because as an entrepreneur, like, man, I probably have 3 to 5 business ideas every week.
Yeah.
So, so I've got to keep all that stuff in there. And like, I have businesses that I'm working on now that I thought of like 3 years ago, but awesome. I started the process a little bit and we keep them in ClickUp. Cool. I used to use Asana. But yeah, man, I have so many ideas.
Yeah, I tried using so many stuff like Trello, Asana, Anydo, and at the end of the day, all the time I go back to like Google Sheets. Yeah. And then I work with Google Sheets for a few months, and then I get cross about myself that I'm not productive and I'm not doing it like structured enough. And then I go back to Asana or I start using like a notepad. So constantly trying to improve and testing, but
I went through the same exact thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what I learned was I had to force myself and immerse myself in the project management tool.
Yeah.
Because I kept trying to ask other people, like, you know, what's your setup? How do you do it? And they would give me good advice, but like, I just had to get in there and play around with it and feel like an idiot for a little bit. I think that's why I avoided it for so long, because it made me feel like, man, I don't know how to really use this thing, you know, and I don't like that feeling.
Yeah. But this is how you start. This is how you get started, obviously.
Yep, it is. It is. You've got to allow yourself to make mistakes, you know.
For sure.
But now it works out really well. Like we have a pretty good system in ClickUp now that I'm happy with.
Do you have your whole team on it, and like do you delegate tasks between VAs? And
I do. So we've got like my favorite part, like as a CEO, is I have every employee fills out a daily report and a weekly report.
Cool.
Now I don't see all the daily reports because I don't manage everybody, but the people that manage those employees also have daily reports, and I'll look at those. So in the ClickUp task or Asana task, if you're using Asana, like it's like a little card, kind of like what we see on the Zoom screen. And I have, the daily report. And then as a subtask, I have the review daily report assigned to me. And I review I don't always review the daily ones, but I always review the weekly ones. And then we have a meeting every week and we can link all these tasks together. So this is what I'm talking about. Like,
that's crazy.
You could never, if I told you this and then you tried to do it, you'd be like, what the hell? Like, how do I go? Like all these tasks linked together and things like that. So I can go in and look at what I want to look at and see all these things going on. And I think if you want to scale and you want to be organized, you know, you've got to start using a project management tool to keep going. You know, it depends, you know, how much do you want to scale? Me, I like, you know, the sky's the limit for me, man. So
cool.
Really trying to build these processes to lay that foundation to build on.
And do you ever like think like how do you decide whether you should build the process or just leave it to be? Because, for example, I try to automate like an accounting process, and I invested a lot of time in optimizing the process, and at the end of the day I felt I invested too much time instead of just doing the task. So it's always a back and forth for me. I'm not sure if I'm doing stuff in order to be scalable or just wasting time instead of outsourcing the task, or just doing it instead of like thinking of growing. So it's kind of a inner debate. So what are your thoughts about this?
I think it depends on the task and the person making the procedure. Like we have SOPs and we have checklists. Like a checklist could be like, before uploading this product to Amazon, run this checklist. An SOP would be like how to create the Amazon listing. You know, so the procedure is way more detailed. The checklist, like anybody could do it, right? Like they don't have to know really. I mean, you guys probably messed with a flat file on Amazon, but it's a freaking nightmare. So the checklist could be not super easy, but you know, so there's different tasks either require a checklist or like a detailed procedure. And when you come to the procedure side, probably like an accounting type task, you really got to make sure that procedure is bulletproof. And like me, I have at least 2 other people test a procedure before I make it live. Because if I understand it, just because I understand it doesn't mean someone else will. And then there's usually kind of like a little bit of a training part to that process. And, eventually someone can get it figured out for the stuff I've had to deal with. Now, I've never outsourced accounting because I'm terrible at it and don't have a good process for it. I have outsourced it to a whole nother business, right? Like it's not even in our organization. So yeah, I think it really depends on the procedure because it does take a lot of time to put those together. It takes a really long time.
So on your end, like the SOP is more like the procedure and what you do in order to learn the task, and the checklist is like post doing the task, you just go through the checklist and verify that everything is fine, everything is in place.
Yeah, it's kind of like an SOP could have a checklist too, kind of just like as a quality control thing. But sometimes we come across, I'm trying to think of one, kind of like shipping. Like shipping a drop ship order. Doesn't really need a procedure. A checklist will do, I think. So like in our project management tool, we can save a checklist as a template, and then I can have an automation. So every time an order comes in from Amazon that we have to ship, I can have it, I can have that template automatically applied, that checklist automatically applied.
That's cool. That's very cool. Yeah. So is this using an automation tool? Like, do you use like Zapier or anything like that? Or
I do use Zapier, but ClickUp just rolled out their own automation stuff. So I really like ClickUp because they're very active with their the suggestions from the community. So they're constantly rolling out new features. And they just rolled that one out. But if they didn't, you could do it with Zapier.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't heard about them, but for sure I'll check them out afterwards because I loved all the automation stuff. Obviously, sometimes I dive too deep into the automation instead of just, as I said, doing it. But I will check these guys out. And when you spoke about creating the SOPs, it reminded me of something that we talked about in our call before going on the podcast. So you said you're like a lot of entrepreneurs, you look to hire people that are better than you, that are smarter than you. So how do you view, like, if they create the SOPs, for example, if you don't know their field of expertise, for example, if they do the marketing and you're not an expert of marketing, so how do you verify them? Do you also have a procedure of like double checking them or showing the procedures they created to someone else, or how do you handle this? Like I feel that you're not the expert of the field.
Yeah. So if I was like, I think let's take marketing, Facebook marketing as an example. I'm not an expert, but I know what KPIs to look for. Like I want to know what the conversions are. I want to know what add to carts are. I want to know what abandoned cart rate looks like. So I can monitor those KPIs, and if they're not where I want them to be, then I go down the trail, kind of follow the breadcrumbs to what could be causing the problem. And it could be the procedure, right? So, at that point, you could hire a consultant. Like maybe you don't like, maybe you're questioning your employee at this point. You could hire a consultant. Or get a buddy. I think a lot of people in this business have a good network. If you've made it in the business, you typically have a good network. So you can ask someone and be like, hey man, I'm a marketing guy. Here's our procedure. Here's our results. Like, what do you think? That's what I would do.
Cool. I agree.
I think the KPIs are important. For stuff like that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie. And if you're the business owner and you see numbers that you don't like, so something needs to be fixed. So obviously somebody or something is underperforming, and it doesn't really matter. So but it's very important, like as you mentioned, using like friends or colleagues, like people from out of the business. Obviously, if you can hire consultants, it's better. Because they probably won't be biased and they might have a higher, be experts of the field. But
Yeah.
also using buddies, I consult with my friends a lot, friends that are dropshipping and marketers, like just show them the funnel, ask them for any advice. Definitely agree on that.
Yeah, I've got like when I look back on my like 5-year journey and I look at where I'm at now, it's like I've really built a system, and I'm trying to build a system where accountability is just built into it. Like it's right in your face. Like when an employee comes in and you lay out the expectations and you say, I always say, do you think this is reasonable? Do you think this is something you can achieve? Or I'll say, hey, how many emails do you think you can send next week? And they'll give me a number, and I'll be like, all right, put it down, put it in there. And in that ClickUp task, we have comments. We just had a meeting yesterday, and I told the guy, he said something. Well, it was related to drop shipping on Amazon. And in my experience with Amazon, you automate listing and you throw up as many listings as you can, and whatever sells, that's what you focus on. Well, he's kind of new to the business, and he's like, well, I think we can just find the good items first. And I wanted to be like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to do it, the way I want it.
The way that works.
Yeah, the way that works. But you know what? I said, you know what? If you think you can do it, I'll give you 3 weeks. Go ahead and put it in there in the comment on the meeting that you said you could do this. And I'll give you 3 weeks to do it.
I like that.
Because at the end of the 3 weeks, it's like when you go and look at the task, it's like, it's him that wrote it. Like, I'm not holding you accountable. You're holding yourself accountable now. And I think that's really what you need to scale, because now you're no longer dependent on people. You're dependent on your system and the positions that you bring into the business.
Yeah, agree. And how do you hold yourself accountable? Like any tips or tricks? Like what do you do in order to hold yourself accountable?
Yeah, so the ClickUp project management tool has been nice. They have an inbox feature which will show you like what you have scheduled and what's due today or what's due tomorrow. So, you can have 10 businesses in ClickUp, but you look at your inbox view and it shows you only what's due today. And then ClickUp also like monitors and measures your performance and how many tasks you're completing. So I've been using that. I don't really have I don't make myself do what the employees do. Always, because I have a family to feed. So there's my accountability.
For sure.
Like this is the only way I make money. You know what I mean? Like we have ourselves on payroll and stuff, but it's my business that's signing the check. So
but I'm asking because like for me, a lot of times I have idea and then I see an opportunity, so I go and do test the opportunity, and then I see another opportunity, and I'm bombarded with ideas like you mentioned, and then I look back like at the end of the week and I look back and I say, okay, I really didn't move the needle. I just did a lot of tests, but I didn't move the needle in the derivative I wanted to move, like in the direction, because of being too opportunistic. So I'm debating a lot with the subject of bringing someone who to be accountable for my gains. Obviously, I want to make as much as possible and profit as much as possible and be productive. But I'm playing around with the idea of maybe bringing a coach to hold accountable, or a personal assistant maybe to hold me accountable. I'm not sure about this yet. Have you thought about this stuff or tested it?
Have you read Traction?
No, not really.
Okay. Have you looked into like disc profiling or anything like that?
No.
Okay. So it's like disc profiling and Traction is all about like finding the right people, and it's profiling. So like disc, you'll have a profile. You're probably like me. You're probably like a high I or a high D, which means you're driven and like impactful. The S's and the C's are more like the tend to be more like employees and not entrepreneurs.
Uh-huh.
But you could use a disc profiling test as a pre-screening tool for the person you're looking for. So it sounds like to me you need the same person I do, which is a director of operations. Someone to take your ideas and like start getting the gears in motion.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're the idea people, right? Like I know that's how I am. You know, when I was growing up, I thought everyone was the same way I was. You know, like, does everyone else have these ideas? Like, of course they do. Like, you know, and when I was growing up, it was funny at that time in America, like at least where I was, people would still kind of like joke about like talking to yourself. Like, oh, that guy talks to himself, you know, like, and I grew up thinking that was like, I don't know, it meant you were crazy or something, you know, but I was always talking to myself like, man, what if I did that? What if I did this? What if this happened? And like, I had all these big ideas. And if you read Traction or you follow disc profiling, they'll say, well, you need someone who's an operation type person to follow through with all the steps to make it happen. So I have tried to get some of those guys, but I think I just need to increase the budget for it, and get like a really like a A+ guy or woman for that position.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because it's really also something that you have to keep in mind. So a lot of times, if you want to get someone really good, you have to open the pocket. So it's it has pros and cons. So but
luckily, like your business, you could probably get a pretty quick return on it because you're dropshipping, right? The cash flow is great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree about that. Yeah, I agree. But on the other hand, I will need to like train and educate. It's not that easy. Obviously, nothing is easy.
Yeah.
A lot of people think stuff is easy, but not everything is simple, but nothing is easy. This is something I tell all my students.
That is such a great statement.
Yeah. Nothing is complicated, but nothing is easy.
Yeah, just because something's simple doesn't make it easy.
the majority of the time we need to simplify. Like for me, like I build a funnel and I test crazy stuff and I split test between pages, and at the end of the day I'm surprised like the shittiest page converted the best, and then I go back and look at it and I see it exactly the way like Russell Brunson created his sales page, and I tell myself, why didn't I follow his advice? Why, like, I have a lot of people that I follow their advice and influenced my way of thinking about conversion rate optimization. And every time I try to make like my own ideas instead of sticking to the plan, it doesn't work well as just doing the basics correctly, you know, double downing on what really works. Instead of like, I've tested like chatbots and SMS marketing, a lot of stuff like, all the time you have to test, obviously, because you might find an opportunity. But on the other hand, a lot of the times, the stuff that everybody says that work, it's really work if you do it well. If you craft the offer page correctly, there's no reason people won't buy. You don't have to do complicated stuff.
Yeah, I agree, man. And I fall into that trap also of just not really doubling down on the basics. But.
So, what would you say were like your biggest mistakes lately, like stuff that you noted and corrected, like, but stuff that were really holding you back in your business?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of stuff, man. You know, relying on Amazon has made building my business difficult, you know, because now I'm trying to catch up and learn Shopify and Facebook and advertising and copywriting. You know, like the idea of paying someone to write some words for me, it still drives me crazy. But, you know, I just paid a guy $1,000 to do some copywriting for me. And it's just like, man, I really couldn't figure that out myself, you know?
Yeah.
But it can be the difference between a good landing page or not.
Yeah, I agree.
So, you know, learning all these new skills has been tough. And then, you know, me trying to do it on my own just slows things down. So I do think that's still a mistake that I make. And just not really hiring enough people, I think. Because it's kind of scary. It's kind of like jumping into the deep end. You're putting faith in these people to do good work and your money into it and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, but have you played around like with the idea of like commission-based hiring? Did you test this? Like incentivizing only based on performance? Because for me, I've tried this, but I don't seem to get like people that are willing to do the work without payment upfront.
Yeah.
Like, not too many people are willing to be skin in the game and say, okay, I'm going to do this, and if the performance isn't good, don't pay me, or pay me based on performance.
Yeah.
But have you, like for you, when you hire, so the majority of the time it's like a flat rate?
Yeah, and then like for the VAs, I'll give them a bonus opportunities, or my retail arbitrage guy, he gets like a 1% bonus. So he gets a small incentive, but his hourly rate's kind of higher. We're in the middle of scaling the brand management business for people on Amazon.
Okay.
And I have the idea to build a sales team. It's like a sales team.
Yeah.
It's sales, basically. We're pitching them on our service. Because last year I took a job selling timeshares for the summer. My buddy put me on. He was like, man, I made 15 grand last summer selling these timeshares. And I was like, well, tell me a little more. And he was like, yeah, well, we sell these, like the smallest package is like $15,000. They do this 2-hour presentation. They give them like, $300 worth of free seafood to come in here and stuff. I was like, you guys are selling $15,000 packages to people that come in there for some free seafood. I was like, I got to learn this. I was like, I got to figure it out. So I did 2 weeks of training with the company, and then I did it for 30 days. I sold one package. It was hard, man, but and they only pay like $7 an hour, but you can make like huge commissions. And there were a bunch of people in there doing it. So that kind of opened my eyes a little bit. I was like, all right, those types of people are out there.
Yeah.
And when they find something that works for them, they stick around when they get good at it. So I think I'm going to do something like that for the brand management. People calling on the phones and stuff like that, chasing those leads down. That was a good experience though, man. That
like frontal selling and also telemarketing, it's so powerful. Like when you speak with someone, you have so much more power to persuade them and help them and address their objectives and help them like face their fears and show them how your product is going to solve their pain. So it's much easier when it's interactive. And something that a good copywriter does, he creates this conversation in his landing page, like without being interactive. This is what good copywriting is. It's like conversing with your potential buyer and addressing all his fears and giving him a guarantee and convincing him that this product, this solution is what he needs. So this is just like a framework for doing a good copywriting. Just imagine as if you're talking with your customer, with your potential customer, and you need to buy.
I'll have to try to remember that, man. I'd like to be able to write one funnel that did well. Like I want to do it. Like I want to be able to say I built that and like it did well.
I just read a book this morning actually by Jim Edwards. It's called Copywriting Secrets. It has a lot of interesting gems and ideas. And one of the things he says over there, and I totally agree, is like a good funnel leaves clues. Like so you can just go and model competitors and take ideas from big marketers, and if you know the customer, if you know his pains and how he's thinking, so it's much easier to create good copywriting, in my opinion. So you just it's like a mix and match. You take also from your best-selling competitors, also from the biggest marketers, and also your own understanding of your avatar, your potential customer, and you have it. You have the structure, a good landing page, in my opinion, and also what he said in the book. It has like benefits, testimonials, features, guarantee, the offer with like a big pricing package with a lot of freebies. So it's also an art, and it's also a science. Copywriting is a mixture of art and science, and it's not easy, but it's simple if you do it correctly.
Yeah. I think that's one of those things too, where like the advantage of being a professional copywriter is like you get to see what works. Like, oh, I wrote that sucked. Like that did not get the result that I wanted. Oh, this got it good. Me, I'm just copywriting a little here, a little there. Like I don't really get to see what works and what doesn't. With Amazon, I do, because we sell so much different stuff.
But in Amazon, how do you like split test? I don't know much about Amazon, but is there a way like to split test?
So we don't have to, because the majority of our business is branded products. We've got a couple PL products, but I haven't split test anything on Amazon yet. But there is a tool that will split test Amazon listings.
And is it compliant with Amazon? Because I know they have.
I honestly don't know. That's a good question. I don't know, because I haven't used it. I just know some guys that do.
Okay, cool. And by the way, you mentioned before the retail arbitrage, and I know you also have the arbitrage blueprint. And I think the majority of our audience, they don't really know what is retail arbitrage, but I think it's very relevant to them because it's also a low cost and a low barrier to entry model. So can you elaborate a bit about retail arbitrage?
Yeah, so in the world of Amazon selling, we talk about retail arbitrage and online arbitrage. So it's just buying from a retail store. It's a brick and mortar. If you're doing it online, it's like a Walmart.com or something like that. And you're just looking for products that are profitable to sell on Amazon after fees. So like with Amazon, you've got a referral fee that's just for selling on the platform. That's anywhere from 8 to 17%. So you have to make sure you're looking at that. And then you have fulfillment fees. So if you're going to buy inventory and send it to an Amazon warehouse, they're going to charge you a small storage fee and a fulfillment fee for when the customer orders it. And then they're going to handle returns and things like that. So you're leveraging the Amazon platform for its customers. We're buying things like Nike and, Yankee Candle and big name brands. So you don't need to advertise. You can have an arbitrage business on Amazon and never even touch a advertising pin. So we go into stores and we scan stuff. We have an app on our phone. I use Scoutify. So you scan the barcode. If that number, if that UPC matches with Amazon's UPC, then it'll pull up that listing. You can see the return after fees, which is important. And then you just deduct that return after fees from your cost. And estimated shipping, we usually estimate shipping at like 30 cents a pound. So that's another thing you want to factor in. And the key to arbitrage, whether it's online or in store, is finding discounts first. That's what I always tell people. And when I used to train people, I said, don't look for products first, look for discounts. Don't look for stores, look for discounts. Like you have to get good at finding discounts. If it's online arbitrage, you have to get good at finding discounts, deals, cash back, gift cards. Like you got, like that's where it is now. That's how competitive it is now. But it's still a great business, and I think for a lot, like that was my evolution. I started out drop shipping, then I went to arbitrage, then I went to wholesale and private label. So that's kind of been my journey. through all of it, all this e-commerce stuff.
Mm-hmm. And probably you, like I get asked a lot about like drop shipping from AliExpress, but the people, they don't know AliExpress exists. They don't, why don't they go and buy directly from AliExpress? So probably people also ask you, like when you tell your friends or your family, like what you're doing and what is the retail arbitrage, do they ask a lot like, why? But people, they don't see that, they didn't see this product in Walmart, and why didn't they purchase it directly from Walmart?
Yeah, and I think this is an important topic. Like I don't know what your audience is like, how new they are or experienced. Maybe it's a mix, but it's important that the person in this business understands this too. Because it was a hurdle for me for a long time. I started out on eBay, drop shipping on eBay, from Walmart. All right. So in my head, I'm like, why are these people buying this from me?
Yeah.
Why? And, it boils down to learning, customers and it's convenience. It's trust. They trust eBay. It's convenient. They trust Amazon. It's convenient. So it's, you really just got to not form an opinion on your own and let the data talk to you. And when you're telling other people that are asking you this question, you could probably dig an example out of them where they've paid more for something because it was convenient. It's like the grocery store that you shop at. Some people, I don't know what you guys have here, where you're at, but like we have a Harris Teeter, which is kind of fancy. And then we have like a Kroger, which is not as fancy, but they're like 1 mile away from each other. Why do people go to Harris Teeter and why do people go to Kroger when they're owned by the same company and you could probably get the same thing cheaper here,
Exactly. I also had like, a problem, like a values problem at the beginning when I started dropshipping. So I said, I felt it was wrong to charge people more than the original price. This is something obviously I'm sure that a lot of retail arbitrageurs and dropshippers, they face this value problem. But at the end of the day, the supply chain works like this. So anything you buy, if you buy a Billabong cap or you buy an iPhone, a phone or whatever, it has a supply chain and everybody is profiting over in their own level. And it's something that you need to understand and let go of. Don't feel guilty for charging more because you're supposed to provide value, like you said, like making it more accessible or building trust or whatever. You're supposed to provide value to your customers, and this is what you charge for.
Yep. And you're supposed to value your time.
Yeah.
I get pretty frustrated when even if it's on like Facebook or, people get nasty. Like, oh, you're selling hand sanitizer for $2 more than what it usually costs. Like you're a piece of crap person. Like in my head, I'm like, no, like you're a piece of crap. Like you have to value your time, right? Like,
I agree.
If that other person just probably doesn't really value their time, I don't know, but
this is how business is done. Like,
it's a completely different mindset,
I agree. So talking about time, like how does your daily schedule look like? Do you work a lot? What do you do like on your time off? Do you read any books? You mentioned a few books. So do you read a lot about business stuff? How do you develop? How do you develop your skill set? Do you train or like stuff like that, generally speaking?
So it's kind of changed this year with the third kid. Right now I'm working from like 8 to like 3 or 5, depending on what I need to do. Last year I was getting up at like 6 and working until 3 to 5. But right now I'm trying to really increase my ability to get work done and my ability to focus. So like this year I'm back to starting my day with like I get up around 6:15 and instead of going straight to work, I'll do Headspace for 10 minutes, which is a meditation app. like just sit and drink some coffee and
Yeah.
look outside and just really take time to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I'm working, I like to work I like to call them sprints.
Yeah.
You know, like, all right, I'm going to do this one thing for 1 hour
Mm-hmm.
and like just crush it, you know, like do really good. And then do what's next. Because what I've learned is that's how I naturally like to work.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I naturally like to operate. So it took me a while to unlearn what society taught me. You know, like, oh, you need to work just 8 hours and, you know, just kind of BS your way through it. Right? That's what we saw going on. I'm like, no, I want to get what I need to get done and like get back to my life, you know,
and that doesn't mean you don't enjoy, and that doesn't mean you don't enjoy your work.
Right. I do enjoy my work. It's just now I have my family and now it's been hard to take time for myself lately because now I have the family crunch, the business crunch. And I wish I would have known these things when I was a solo entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You know, like I wish I would have had this structure because it takes time to transition into doing what you know you should be doing. And
it's a constant struggle. It's not like it's always you having also, for me at least, I have the personal debates. Am I doing what I'm supposed to do? Maybe I should optimize. Maybe I should do like a to-do list the evening before, like for tomorrow. Like it's constant optimizing. It's a never-ending journey. Which this is one of the things I like about it.
Yep. Yeah, and you got to test like what you just mentioned, you know, like should I do a to-do list the night before or, you know, like I really like putting pen to paper. Yeah. It's kind of like therapeutic for me. And I like a manual checklist that I wrote out and then, you know, cross things out. Like I like that, but I'm trying to force myself to get away from it because it is inconvenient. Like if I can just use my project management tool in that way, that would be great. So I'm hoping I can do that, you know, to continue to optimize.
I went back and forth with this like for, I think already 5 times, like Notepad, went back to Asana, Notepad, went back to Google Sheets. Like every time I go back and forth with it, I think I'll just stick with the Notepad and, you know, just flow with whatever is more convenient to me. Like I know it's not the best thing because it's, with the project management, you can drag and reprioritize. It makes it way easier. But the
ability to search is really where it shines.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
You have to check this thing out. I think you'll like, this thing's really good. Like if you're at a conference and you want to take notes, you can write down on it. It's a special piece of paper. And you snap this QR code and you can send whatever's on here to like Google Drive or Slack or wherever you want.
Nice.
So if you're at a conference, Rocketbook.
Rocketbook. Cool.
So if you're at a conference and someone gives you really good notes, you can headline it like, oh, it was Steve on Thursday at the Utah conference. And like a year later, I might remember that. I can be like, what did Steve in Utah say? And you can pull it up, but you still get the handwritten kind of
the vibe.
You know, the vibe. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I agree. Like searchability is so important. Like tagging stuff, like tagging emails and tagging notes. Yeah, it's very important. It's only a concept like I thought about not too long ago, the searchability. But I totally agree with what you said. Like searchability.
Yeah. And it's like a different, because it's blending kind of like the change in technology, right? Like I grew up before notes on computers and things like that. So I really like handwriting, but now we have information overload. So we need a way to be able to filter through it all.
Agree. Definitely agree. Cool. So, wow, it was such a cool talk so far, and I'd like to ask like a few closing questions before we say farewell. So Is there any like quotes or motivational videos you've been consuming lately, or anything that you live by?
Yeah, one good quote I like is, I'm trying to figure out the best way to say it. You'll hear people say you only live once. And I like the quote of saying you live every day. Because, if someone would have known me at 15 years old, they probably wouldn't think I'd be where I'm at now. I had a pretty troubled childhood and into being like an early adult, late teenager years. So I believe that any day someone can wake up and make a decision to change no matter what has happened before. So that's always been real important to me. I like the idea of like, you only live once, go do something fun. But I think you can twist that and say you live every day, like go take advantage of it.
I totally agree. Yeah, I agree, because exactly what you said, like sometimes like the YOLO mindset means you need to be goofy or do something stupid, like, but you
like, dude, you just put your head in a cooler full of ice and took a beer bong. Like, was that really necessary?
Yeah, you paraphrase it nicely. I totally, it makes a lot of sense. You live every day. You should take advantage of every day to the fullest. Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other, I wanted to ask a few more closing questions, but I think it's such a good note to finish with. So just asking you, any closing thoughts, anything that you would like our audience to know? Where can people find you? Any last tips or advice?
Yeah. The best place to find me is on Facebook, honestly. Feel free to shoot me a friend request or send me a message saying you heard the podcast. And, if you guys are interested in Amazon selling, definitely check out the Arbitrage Blueprint. It's literally the SOPs we used to build and run our business to this day. So it's definitely valuable if you're looking to sell on Amazon. Other than that, man, no, I'd like to get to know your audience a little more, man. I like what you guys are doing, and I'm glad you reached out.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, I'll share the links to your Facebook page and to your landing pages in the show notes. And it was a blast. It was really fun. And maybe we can do another one in the upcoming future, like choose another topic and just talk a bit about other stuff. It was very fun and a lot of valuable insights. And I'm definitely going to check out the ClickUp. What's the name of the software? ClickUp?
ClickUp. Yeah, that's the one.
I'll check it up, and I'm
already in the Facebook group too. They're pretty helpful in there.
Cool, great.
ClickUppers, I think they call it ClickUppers. Yeah.
You can be an affiliate.
I probably could.
Cool, great, awesome, Nick. So thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
Yeah, man. Same to you.
Cool.
Thanks for reaching out.
Awesome. Take care. Bye bye.
All right. Bye.
Cool.